Hey everybody, Shay here. So last night I went to bed very late because I ended up reading the next two volumes because I couldn't put them down, 27 and 28. And then I woke up early in the morning, of course, because I wanted to finish off this next set of four. So we got 29 and 30. And so now I figured I'd take a little break here to record this before lunch because I would like to finish the series. It certainly wasn't a plan for this weekend, and I didn't even know if I was going to keep these vlogs going, but in this format where it's 4 at a time and I'm just kind of giving more of a review and my thoughts and some narrative commentary along the way, it seems to work out. I'm not sure if as an exercise, this project did what I wanted it to do, but we're almost at the tail end, and hey, I'm still proud of having gotten to this through the series because it's been a long journey, and my current state of mind was just I needed to start finishing things as opposed to keep starting them. But if I keep dragging them on, I feel like everything gets entangled with new projects, etc. So we're in the final showdown patterns, right, where the minion madness has happened, the secret weapons, we know about the coordinates and stuff like that, we meet the founder, and so all of those narrative pieces did come into play in these 4 volumes. They're all more or less 5 stars, if not 4.5 to 5. Hajime Isayama still keeps the pacing of this in such a way where each volume feels like a mastery of the manga format. Like, because we generally get a setup in the first quarter, we get the exposition in the middle section, right, the 50% of the middle, and then we get the big action scene, the big crazy moment where all crap hits the fan, and then we have our, it's not really a resolution, but we have our cliffhanger, right, into the next volume, and you gotta read the next volume, and there's constantly this momentum and trajectory for this narrative that you're always on the tip of your toes, on the balls of your feet. I know there's a phrase there. Anyways, where you don't know what's coming next because there's so many pieces in motion, but it's actually cohesive. Like it doesn't feel as clunky as I think I talked about it last vlog, as the first half of the series did. Sometimes it just got clunky. And Hajime still does the whole flipping of time back and forth, flashbacks, perspectives, like that still happens. But for some reason it feels more fluid, constantly still in the story instead of getting entangled, you know? And so, I mean, like I said, like in the first quarter of even volume 27 there, we get the whole moment of the wine drinking. And I was like, I mean, a scene of them getting drunk, and you don't think that that's going to go anywhere else, man. But it's a massive setup where, well, because it becomes a massive setup in the second half of this this is probably an arc. I feel like this also ended where it's potentially an arc, because it also had that kind of curve to these 4 volumes being one of the 4 phases, you know? That was a perfect, what I call the mirror pattern, right? You get the setup where you're like, it's right at the beginning, so it's kind of hidden in the kind of setup of the next motion of storytelling, right? It's subtle. The drinking wine. I mean, we've seen that in a series before, like they like drinking wine. This is in the first, like, I don't know, 2 volumes, you know? Crazy stuff, man. Anyways, that comes into play as a big of a rigmarole behind the scenes because the wine is tainted with spinal fluid. And so they are all now tainted with potentially with the blood that the Beast Titan can activate and turn them all into Titans. So that was crazy. Didn't anticipate that coming. We have the 2 youngins, of course, that fled on the airship or got onto the airship, shot Sasha. We got Gabby and Falco, another setup in the first, I don't know what, first third. So we're kind of creeping into the second phase, so the act 2. And what's cool about this one is, of course, it's another setup because the person who finds them is Sasha's sister, and we kind of know that I mean, if you still remember from like I don't know, 15 volumes ago, the father ends up talking in this accent, and you're like, that was Sasha's accent, and you kind of don't know yet. But you're kind of like, oh crap. they're eating food in the house of Sasha's family. And so at one point you're like, okay, a reveal's going to happen. It's going to turn into chaos when they find out. And this is a way to kind of get Gabby to see that there's no real difference between the Eldians across the ocean. They're all brainwashed to thinking that one is good and one is evil. And that perpetual cycle of war and destruction continues to happen, you know? And so we do have a sort of backstab, or not backstab, but like just they work out a plan. Yelena works out a plan to basically take out the soldiers from within, or the militia take control of them because of pushing the Jaegerists is what they call them, people who kind of devote themselves to the idea of the purge and whatnot, and it's basically a euthanization of all of the Titans or the Eldian bloods so that they can't have any more children, and that would end the cycle. So that's what Yelena believes. She's pushing forward, and that's what we believe because that's all we're told here. And this is where we get like the final exposition of what's going to go down, and of course then there's an assassination that takes out the commander, and that sets up the rebellion. Of course, there he goes, bam, bye-bye. and then all shit hits the fan. And so we're positioned to believe that Eren has completely like lost, like, because here's the thing, because we know that the Beast Titan can, or Jaeger can mind control to some degree, right? He can kind of, so we've gotten that seed. So now there's that seed of doubt all the time when we reach Eren as a character, and he's talking and he's acting, and he's not acting the way that we anticipate he's supposed to be acting, like the way he's been acting up till now. And the characters are calling this out, and then it's literally comes down to, what if he is being controlled? Like, what if something else is going on that we don't know? There's like a rigmarole happening. And so we don't know if he's an agent of Zeke at this point, but it does look like their ambitions are aligned, or at least that's, again, what we're made to believe in that first volume of this 4-part arc. I'm suspecting, I still haven't looked this up, of course, because I don't want to be spoiled. I'm right at the tail end. Might as well keep playing this game. And so we jump into the volume 28 here, and even the cover alone, right? It looks like things are going down, and we're going to have a Levi moment here. Levi is kind of watching over Zeke, making sure there's no shenanigans. And of course, there are shenanigans. You have that moment in the first quarter here where the cook ends up finding out, so the cook that's in love with Sasha. I do wish that they took more time developing that side story. We never got any of that. We just kind of got told that in one page in one of the previous volumes. And then you kind of have to roll with it because it becomes narratively important. We just have to buy into Niccolo being in love because she loved his food. And that was literally one panel. I still remember the panel. I remember the moment. It was a bit of a flashback moment in a present tense moment. But now that past tense panel needs to be vital for this kind of narrative moment here with the kids, like Niccolo finding out that at least that Gabby was the one who killed Sasha. But then, of course, Falco gets in the way and takes the bottle, smash to the head. And of course, this is the wine bottle that is laced with the spinal fluid. So now there's a problem. This escalation happens right in Act 1, but it's a setup for all of this unraveling that's about to happen in Volume 28, you know? And so there's a nice pace here again where, you know, things are about to go down. Things are about to go crazy. This is like this dramatic moment is all between humans, but it is a human takeover right now. That resistance kind of taken over. You don't really know who's in control of what and who's driving what because there's still Eren and Zeke on the field. And by the time we get to the midway point, we have the Levi and Zeke moment where Zeke manages to get away, and we get the whole wine moment, right? The wine moment. he ends up using the call in order to transform the 30 other soldiers that are up in the trees and whatnot into Titans so that they block Levi's chase down of Zeke. Now, Levi being Levi, of course, he still pulls it off the chase down. And now we have the second moment of Levi, his promise to Erwin to take out Zeke. He chops him up good. He puts him into a bit of a predicament where if he moves, he's got this spear in him, so if he moves, he'll blow himself up in half. And so he neutralizes this situation kind of to buy time until they find out more and get just more information about how Eren plays into this. And so in the last quarter, we get the flashback for Zeke's perspective as a child and learning that he was basically pushed aside by Grisha, the father, right? And then that this man right here ends up taking him under his wing. His son gets killed. And so he ends up playing ball with him because he didn't have a son to play with, right? And I mean, that throwing arm, the ball, the Beast Titan throwing things. So that's where all that comes from. And it all makes sense. It gives a little bit of empathy to the villainous, quote unquote, characters. That's the thing with the series, right? There's no real good or bad, I guess. It's all very, very gray. Even the villains, quote unquote, they all have a reason to be who they are. And so it's never quite as clear as it seems, right? Like you always get one of these backstories and you get this extra context and then it throws you off, you know? It's just because you're like, kind of. It's just circumstantial. Saviour's wife, Saviour's the guy with the glasses. He's the original Beast, not the original, but the prior Beast Titan that passes on the Beast Titan powers to Zek. So Saviour's wife finds out that he's an Eldian and she ends up slitting the kid's throat and her own after. So there's a double suicide there. And so that's why he makes this connection with Zeke. And so while he's in the wagon, he's thinking about that. And I mean, he's willing to do anything in order to move this thing forward. So he sets off the spear explosion. And that's the climax, and that's what these volumes do good. It's like there's this mastery of doing this escalation through the entire volume, and then knocking us down in the last quarter. Just that Act 3 in all of these volumes just completely dominates and destroys any kind of semblance of like, I'm gonna go sleep now. No, you're not. Or if you are, you're going to sleep for very little time because you got to get into the next volume ASAP. So volume 29, we do have the cover. Their covers are getting a little bit more dynamic with their design, and their composition has gotten better. You know, see even that right there, there's a bit of a Dutch angle going on. There's like a triangular format is usually a really good angle. Anyways, I'm kind of art nerding again. We'll just move on. So at this point, we're in the second half of the Act 2 of this 4-volume arc, if that's true, because I haven't read 31 yet, so I don't know but I feel like I'm at the end here. Anyways, and it's the next 4, and I feel like the pattern is solid. And it's like that is 4 chapters inside 4 volumes. It's just a nice mathematical way of working through this. I really like it. And so now we have the second half of the Act 2, right, the 3rd phase, and we're going to learn more about the whole Ymir history. This image right here, that's of a Ymir, but it's more like a Titan kind of comes around. This is a nasty scene, but it's kind of neat. But so the Titan doesn't eat Zek, but rips open its stomach and then puts Zek into it just to preserve it, just to keep it safe. Nasty. In any case, Hanji finds Levi, and it does look like she says he's dead. Now, we still, I don't believe I got a confirmation of that in this volume or next. Because as soon as they go to check on the body, like check the pulse, shit goes down. And like just chaos ensues. And we never really know. I think, I'm pretty sure I never got a confirmation of that in this volume or the next one. So at this point, Eren is on the move to meet up with Zek. Well, all chaos ensues because we are this escalation point of the narrative rolling into an Act 3, right? So of course things have to get crazier and crazier. Got the Marleyan militia coming in, or not militia, but I mean, well, yes. Well, not yet, but yes. Anyway, it's a force that they could scrape together within a month. But we do have our old buddy Reiner in the group. So the Armor Titan is about to drop in on the scene again, very literally. And we have the Jaw in there. That's pretty much the middle point. I mean, that's a pretty good summary. Titan drops in there. I mean, all the Titans are in the mix. It's just a battle royale. The army is going nuts. These are just some great... The art is just getting so much better, man. These are just such good shots of the Titans. Like, the battle scenes, like, again, frenetic. Awesome. And of course, the Eren with some new abilities there from the Warhammer. Man... And the back and forths, and I mean the fight, because the fight goes on for so many pages. The back and forth of like who's actually got control of this fight is never quite certain. You're like, it's gonna have to be Eren, but there's just so much thrown at him that he's barely able to keep up. He's constantly getting pulled down by either the Jaw Titan or the Armor Titan. He's getting shot in the head by the Pack Titan. Why am I saying Pack Titan? The Cart Titan. The Cart Titan has the mount on them, shooting Titans in the head. Anyways, and then here comes the Beast Titan. Now comes into the fray. Even more craziness. Why? Because we're in the 4th quarter of this. So, of course, the escalation has to happen. The whole final showdown of this particular volume is now going down. And it's absolute chaos, man. And it's so good. They end up freeing the soldiers in order for the soldiers to get back in the fight. You think that things are already crazy, but no, things get crazier because they free all the soldiers out of the cells. There's like, I don't know, was it 300 of them or something like that, or 500? I don't remember, but like half of them have red armbands, half of them have black. So the ones that or have black ones, they're the ones who drank the wine, so they're basically compromised. So they're getting pushed to the front line because it's like you're probably gonna get compromised, so get to the front line, you know. And then the ones with red are the ones who aren't. I know that there's one and one or the other. Those ones get the Survey Corps gear, so they can zip around and help with the fight. But and so the last chapter is this. Well, I mean, it's literally the title of the episode. It's Stealth Attack. It's the Cart Golem kind of pretends to be dead, but it's like the mount is what's getting set up so that the mount can take a shot at the Beast Titan and compromise the situation. That is where all shit hits the fan. And so this would be our 4th phase, our Act 3, and this is where we're going to have to get the final showdown. The confrontation between, the alignment is what we're still thinking. Alignment between Eren and Zek, right? Or Zek. I don't know which one I'm pronouncing. But of course, if that's going to go sideways, this is where it needs to go sideways, because we're going to have to deal with that final showdown. It's going to have to be some sort of conflicts, like something comes to a head. I mean, literally something comes to a head, because they basically shoot off, I'm not afraid of spoiling at this point, but they basically shoot off Eren's head, and then the head goes flying, and the Beast Titan catches it like a ball. I mean, very, very symbolically. I see what you did there, you know? So it's kind of fun. And we do have the important scenario, of course. We're in the first act of this particular volume here. We do have the Falco moment of, like, he's kind of got wine in him, so he's going to convert. And the Beast does do the call out, and he does convert. And so now Falco joins the mix, takes on the Armor Titan. And part of me was like, that would kind of be a good handoff, though, because it keeps him alive by letting him just take out Reiner, and then that it passes to him, but he can convert back to a human, and he gives her Falco back, is the way that could end. But I'm going to be honest here, I felt a bit confused with how this played out, because Reiner is still talking, and the Titan has him bit by the neck. There's just so much chaos happening here, because right there, like, he's still got a hold of the neck, and he's saying stuff like, then it'll be over for me. And he wants it to end. He's like, he's all for this, you know? He's good to go. And there's the chomp, and I'm like, I don't know. It looks like he's taking him out. I mean, there's that right there. part of me is like, but see his face, like he still looks alive right there. He still looks alive. He just looks angry. But it looks like Porco, Porco knows that what's up. And so he kind of distracts the Titan, and the Titan turns around. I just got it now while looking at it twice. I really had to look at this again and read the double page spread there. But, he knows that he's basically been used. But he says, I saw Marcel's memories. He tricked the army into making a loser like you into a warrior, all to protect me. Now you have to admit it, that to the end, I've always been better than you. And that distraction pulls him away. I just noticed, like, that's what's happened, is that Falco turns from the armor Titan and takes out Porco. Now I see. And so then the fight continues, and that's why I got confused. I'm like, did he get him or not? Is this Falco now fighting in the armor? I don't think it is. I'm still seeing Reiner. Anyways, it got confusing. That's all I'm saying. Now it's resolved. It's fine. And so Eren pops out of the attack Titan, and he's making a run for the Beast Titan, and then Gabby ends up using the Titan shotgun rifle thing, not shotgun rifle thing, and literally shoots his head off at the neck. So, and then the head falls into his palm like a ball. Because, anyways, another symbolic reference there to the birds and the flying and the freedom and stuff like that outside of the cage, kind of going back to the first and second volume-ish kind of thing. We got a lot of flashbacks as soon as the head lands into Beast's hands or Zek's hands. A lot of flashback stuff here, and bam, 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 and then bam, we're with the founder, right? And this is where we have the whole confrontation, right? Like, this is where we get the whole secret weapon moment, like very literally. It's them having to talk through what the founder is and whatnot, and that exposition and being able to go through the memories of their father, Grisha, and seeing Grisha's perspective in the whole lifespan of both Zek and Eren along the way, and providing context. Now, Zek believes that brainwashing was going on, but in this flashback memory stuff is like there's a bit of a wait, what? Because, Zek wouldn't have Eren's perspective. Zek would only have Zek's perspective, and in Zek's perspective, things looked twisted. Things like seemed to go sideways, and they weren't really the way that, and he felt like he was manipulated the entire time, But from Eren's perspective, when he sees how Eren grew up, it's like, wait, it wasn't like how I was raised. Eren was already kind of cuckoo crazy, Cocoa Puffs, because he was already an attacker. He protected Mikasa during that one moment. But Grisha didn't want to adhere to, I guess, and we're going to find this out. This is what's crazy about this volume. What fate had already destined for him to do, because they can basically see the future. So it did come back around to time being part of the Attack Titans capabilities, or how the memories took us back to the first volume being 2,000 years from now. The last chapter of this particular volume is like a message from 2,000 years from now. Hold on. The title of the fourth chapter here is From You 2,000 Years From Now. So it looks like there's like a communication that happens where it disregards time. And as we learn from Grisha here, when he's taken out the Reese family, is that he didn't want to do it, but Eren whispers in his ear, or some form of Eren, or some memory from the future of Eren, convinces his father to have to do this, because that's how this needs to play out. Like, they already know, and Eren already knows what his future entails. He knows how this whole series is going to end effectively. Now, if you're into timeline narrative methodologies, where that's a little bit quirky. Right. Like as soon as you read something like that, you're like, stop, break. Because what it means is, like, there still has to be, like, the first original timeline is a straight line. So first there's like a straight line where Eren does not tell the father to take out the Reese family, because that reality has to exist at some form. Eren can't exist in that moment without having been born to reach that moment to create the loop. It means that this entire timeline has to have existed at least once before, and it got us to this moment where a loop could get created. Not sure if they're going to address that or not. Generally, some stories just don't. They just move on, like, oh, that's a timeline thing, and you just move on from it. But it does bring up the question of, like, what does Eren know about the future now? And when he's trying to save the world, and they brought up the whole, what were the keywords that I've been calling these out in the vlog? So I mean, my past self will have called this stuff out, but there have been some keywords that have made me think that there's something going on with time itself, and that maybe Eren wants to stop it's the eternity. When they use the word eternity, right? We're going to be living in this hell for eternity. Or when they say that this will happen again and again and again, right? When the comments like that are made, they tell me something else, and we also learned something about the Ackerman bloodline, that they are basically slaves to the royal bloodline of the Titans, and that they aren't really in control of needing to protect them. And so Eren throws that in Mikasa's face, in the sense of, like, you don't really do this because you care about me, you do this because you have to, and it's like, basically, you don't have free will. And Eren has talked about, like, he hates people who are not free, like, who don't have freedom of choice, who adhere to control and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't hate anyone. He can't hate anyone more. He doesn't hate anymore. He makes a line like that where he hates people who don't take freedom into their own hands, And so whether that's part of the Attack Titan bloodline that makes him kind of have these feelings. But he was compelled to feel this way very early on in life, especially when he protected Mikasa and stuff like that. He had a dark edge to him. But again, we're talking about a bloodline that can kind of see between time or through time. You see the past and the future, like future selves and stuff like that, the memories of the future selves, And so Aaron's dreams are of his future self to some degree, right? If he's the last one. Because they keep mentioning the whole 2,000 years, right? So it does look like this could be the last generation where something has to happen. And so in the last chapter, we get the history of the founding Titan herself. So from you 2,000 years from now, we get the entire context and perspective of that it was a slave to some king, but then the slave ends up going into some tree, like going free, but it falls in this tree, goes in this tree, and falls through this tree. I'm not sure that this was the whole pact with the earth thing. I'm not sure how this doesn't matter. They becomes a Titan, becomes a founding Titan, and then the king chooses her to bear his children. Bears three daughters, and that's the three walls: the Rose, Maria, and Sheena. So when she dies, he feeds their mom to the daughters, and then persist the Titans, right? Basically, keep the lineage going, keep feeding the spinal fluid to the grandchildren, etc., 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 and keep this line going because of so the Titans can rule the world. And so I'll put an end to this world. So Aaron breaks free of his time, space, chains, whatever he is. He's in that continuum, the continuum. What would you call this? The connection, the coordinates. Like this, I guess it's the tree of life or the tree of light, but something like that. The tree symbolically looks like a tree. Yggdrasil, maybe a little sign of like something like that going on here. And Aaron basically wants to break the chains, or break the loop of that is controlling this founding Titan, this slave, who basically was this the entire plan of the slave, is to get this moment to happen so that she could have someone that could effectively tell her that she could be free, that she could be free, like she could make the choice for herself to be free. And so when that happens, it's like, oh, what? So the spinal column connects between the head and the body of Aaron. And then all hell breaks loose because the call is made to basically call, I'm assuming, the colossal Titans that have made up the wall. That's gonna be crazy. And it ends with that cliffhanger right there, where you have Gabby looking at the skeleton forming. I'm assuming this skeleton is Aaron, and then the shadow forms right here, the heads right here, and then we got the heads right here, the Colossus Titans that breaking through the wall. So it's gonna get crazy. It's gonna get crazy, and now I have to read the next 4 volumes. And so there you go. I mean, all 5 out of 5 stars. If they were 4s or 4.5s, they probably got bumped up for one reason or another. There's some scenarios where maybe it would have been a 4.5, maybe closer to 4.5, just because of some of the, now I wouldn't say redundancy from a negative perspective, but there is a lot of exposition that has to happen, and there's a lot of character. Again, when you have a lot of characters on the field, you have to find a way of transferring that information from character group to character group without it feeling clunky, And sometimes I could feel like shorthand was being used because it had to be used, because you had to transfer some of that context across the field, I thought it was actually well done, all considering, because it's kind of difficult to do and orchestrate, but I feel like Hajime Isayama pulled it off very good. Like, I would say very good. The mangaka absolutely looks like they are getting better with every single manga ever since, I don't know, volume somewhere in the 17 to 19, 20 range, something like that. I felt like there was like a pivot and things just got better and better and better. Not just from a story perspective, but an orchestration of the story perspective. It's just gotten like, he's gotten such a great handle on the pacing and like treating the volume with its own narrative flow, so that every volume feels like when you're done it, you're like, God damn it, like I need the next volume. But you also feel like if you had to walk away for a little bit, you could. There's nothing, like the way it bridges and the way it climaxes, it's just, everything is, I don't know, it's just fluid. It's just so fluid, man. It's so fluid, but it's captivating because all the pieces are where they need to be. And I can't stress that enough as a narrative pattern lover. I was gonna say enjoyer, but I'm like, it's like a step above that. Adorer. I adore narrative patterns for a reason, because this is historically bound inside us. Like we have a sense of what tells good stories, like what a good story is, and it's not always because of how it's told, but it's how it feels, and so I believe that comes from narrative patterns being where they need to be, because we subconsciously anticipate certain rises and falls inside the stories that we're consuming, and this one does it. If you got it in a volume, you're going to get in a volume. I've lucked out and I'm doing these in 4-part chunks because it just makes more sense from a video perspective that I can do this, but luckily it's lined up to the arc falling inside this, at least from my opinion. Like, I'm going to look at this after I'm done the series. I'll take a look at where the all the breaks actually happen and see if I was right or if I've just kind of bundled my way through all of this. I don't know. I feel like I'm just saying it the way I feel it, and then all of you can kind of take away what you want. And I mean, you all know because you can just search it up, and then you can find out how close I was or how far off I was. And like in hindsight, of course, right, you can always look at a series and see if the patterns worked, if the volumes are different, like different compilations. Like the only time I feel like it was not 4 volumes, it was probably 10 volumes ago. I felt like something was not where it needed to end, and I broke earlier than I should have or something like that. I don't think I was in these 4 volume sets. In any case, I'm talking in the past. I need to get ready for lunch, and then I'm going to read the next 4 volumes and come back for the final assessment of the series. But a lot of fun. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to explore, engage, inspire. Ready. Peace.